Hello and welcome to London's world-famous Metropolis studios, where today Genelec has launched a brand new range of compact active monitors named The Ones. My name is Barney Jameson, and tonight we're going to be speaking with Thomas Lund and Aki Makavirta from the Genelec product group. We're also going to be hosting a panel of very highly respected engineers and producers who'll be telling us what they think of The Ones. And towards the end of our broadcast, we'll also be taking your questions in a live Q&A. So, invite your friends, tell them to come along and join the live stream. Send in your questions, and if you absolutely need to know right now what this is all about, you can by going to genelec.com/theones. But keep this window open as well, because we've got a lot to do tonight, starting with Thomas Lund. So, hello, Thomas.
Hey, Barney.
So, Thomas, your title at Genelec is Senior Technologist, and that means you've had a real hand in the development of the Ones. Can you tell us about the speakers?
Sure. The Ones are a very compact three-way system. All of them are three-way speakers, but they're point source, and that's very special because it means that all the sound basically originates from one space, and that means that you can orient them in any direction you want, and they're very coherent to listen to, because when we are using head movements, which we are constantly when we are mixing or if we are placing microphones and stuff, they give you a very precise story. So they're what you could call uncompromised point source loudspeakers.
I've heard them described as ultimate point source, which is quite the phrase. For anybody who doesn't really know what that might mean, can you explain it?
Yeah, we use ultimate because there's been so many attempts over maybe 50 years of doing good point source or coaxial loudspeakers, but these are incredible compared to anything else that's been constructed. So that's why we're using ultimate. It's a strong word, but they're also very strong speakers, so it fits well.
Fantastic. Very good answer. Thank you very much. The Ones are part of Genelec's Smart Active Monitor range, also known as SAM. Also, of course, GLM is a very big part of that. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, all the SAM speakers can be controlled from the GLM application. And the GLM application can take sort of the room out of the equation, because when you put a speaker into a room, it changes color based on where it's positioned. And GLM can take away that color and give you reference monitoring in places where you couldn't before. And then with these speakers, you can even use them at very close range, because as point source loudspeakers, you don't get the coloration from the different drivers when you're moving your head. So you can use them close up, taking the room out of the equation that way, and you can use the GLM application to even take the room out further. So they're really, really good at being used in even challenging places.
I think one of the most interesting things I've found so far about the new monitors, the Ones, is the fact that listener fatigue becomes much less of an issue. You can listen for longer. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a good observation, because listener fatigue is much driven by our left-right ear comparison. So if we have bad imaging, it gives us listener fatigue. But the ones that have exquisite imaging, they are really good in that respect. So you can really use them for longer hours and get less fatigued because of that very issue. So actually the brain has this left-right correlation all of the time that uses a lot of energy and actually makes the nerves become tired at some point. And because we have better, in this case, imaging or more natural imaging, it doesn't waste that system so much. So basically one of the main components of listener fatigue is taken out of the equation.
Fantastic. I think it's good at this point. We've spoken a little bit about some of the benefits. Let's talk about the actual models themselves. We have the 8331, an amazingly compact monitor, which we'll speak about more later on, and the 8341. They join the 8351 to form the range. Can you talk to me a little bit about how they work together?
Yeah, the three speakers, of course, the 51 has been on the market for a while, but the new two types, they're extremely compact. So the 31 is the same size as the 30, and the 41 is the same size as the 40 for people that know Genelec speakers. So they're extremely compact, and they're three-way systems. So it's a family, and we call them the ones for the same reason.
Fantastic. Last question for you, Thomas, for now, at least, until later on. Can you tell me a little bit about the ideal user of the ones? Who are these really aimed at?
Yeah, they're really good for a lot of different audio applications. So if you're positioning microphones, for instance, that's one of the places where you need really good listening conditions, and you need very precise listening, because that's your main cue to where the mic is placed ideally. So for that, it's really good. It's good for mixing, because that's where you're panning and putting on effects and stuff. And of course for mastering as well. So it's really for any precision work, even under challenging conditions. These are really exquisite speakers, and probably the best on the market.
You can say that. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you. We'll come back to you later on. If you've just joined us, to let you know, we're broadcasting live from London's famous Metropolis studios. You'll actually have a chance to send in questions that Thomas and his colleague Aki will answer for themselves in a little while in a live Q&A. So please do that. In the meantime, if you'd like to find out some more information about the ones, then go to genelec.com, the ones, but make sure you stay with us as well. And I'm very aware that it might look like we're just broadcasting from a random room somewhere. So I'm going to prove we are at Metropolis. I'm going to do something I shouldn't really do. I'm going to come over here, and if I open this, look, there's real people listening. Very famous engineers in one particular. Hello, Jan. How are you? It's good to see you. So I'll close that because I'm going to get in trouble otherwise. There we go. Very important engineers in there listening to the ones. Let me introduce you to Genelec's R&D director, the brain, one of the many brains behind the ones, Mr. Aki Makaverta. Aki, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. One of the things I think, in fact, can we actually just bring in one of the monitors? If we place it there. I think this tells a story in itself. One of the things that I think people will ask is why this looks so unlike other monitors. You have the large waveguide. There are no visible woofers. Can you talk to us about the design principles?
Yes, this is an acoustically coaxial design where you have the mid-range tweeter system in the middle, and then the rest of the front surface area of this loudspeaker has been used to reproduce low frequencies. So basically you have two woofers here, one hidden over here and the other one hidden over here. And these two woofers are radiating through these slots at the top and bottom here. And this creates some very interesting new possibilities for building monitoring loudspeakers, because now you can use the whole front face for directivity control waveguide, which is what we have done here. And this actually has directivity control on par with much larger monitors. And this is extended at low frequencies by using these two woofers spaced apart from each other. When you do this, you can actually create even more directivity at low frequencies. And when you optimize this placement of woofers together with this mid-range tweeter system, you can create an entirely new kind of design for a monitoring loudspeaker.
And I think it's important to stress, this is a genuine breakthrough. This has never been done before. This is completely new.
Yes, and particularly in this size category, this is the similar size of cabinet where we are housing a two-way product with the 5-inch woofer. And clearly here we have 4 drivers, we have a genuine 3-way design, much more amplifier power, much more sound creation capacity. So this is an entirely new kind of product in this size category. I don't think that anything like this exists on the market at the moment at all.
Well, it does now. Fantastic. They're incredibly compact, as you've said, but the sound is huge. We've just today, actually, I should point out today, a lot of famous faces floating around today at the launch. It's been very exciting. Lots of people talking about the sound in the demos that we've been having. How have you managed to achieve something that has that kind of performance in this kind of compact enclosure?
Well, it's a combination of the electronics and the driver design. Now, just the sheer fact that you're using a 3-way design instead of a 2-way design gives you a lot of advantages, because when you have 3 drivers producing 4 drivers in this case, producing 3 different bands of audio, you can actually have a narrower band for each of the drivers, so you can have a more linear system, less intermodulation distortion. And when you combine this with an amplifier system, we are using DSP amplifiers with floating point signal processing at 64 bits of precision. So we are making no compromises in terms of creating pristine, high quality feeds for the drivers. And with DSP, we can really optimize the performance of the drivers into this enclosure.
Fantastic. Everybody knows there are a huge number of near-field monitors on the market. That's no great surprise. I've heard the ones, so I already know the answer to this question, but I need to ask it. Tell me what separates the ones out from competing products that are out there.
Well, I would say it's simply the quality of the response. I mean, you said you've heard it already, but I mean, this goes both for the dynamics and then the quality of the audio. So basically, we have a very highly controlled neutral frequency response out of this monitor, not only on the acoustical axis, but also when you're moving off axis to the side, to other directions. The frequency response remains consistent. We don't have colorations, and this is true for all orientations. You can use this horizontal, you can use this vertical. It's going to give you always the same high performance. And when you can radiate neutral audio into not only on the acoustical axis but also off axis, this means that you are reproducing audio into the room's reverberant field that is going to be clean. And so this has a potential of sounding much better than the traditional loudspeaker design.
Marvelous. Thank you very much. Aki, one last question from me to you, and I've asked you this in the past as well, so you won't be surprised. I think some people may assume that the development of the ones is as simple as shrinking the 8351 that was already on the market. And of course, actually, there's an incredible amount of work that's gone into the development of these. Can you just give a picture of how much of your life over the last few years has been devoted to developing these products?
Yeah, developing these concepts that we actually are implementing in 31 and 41 have taken many years to create and to perfect to the level where they can be put in the product. And really, I have to be honest with you. You know, we've had to redesign a new coaxial driver for this. We had to redesign a new woofers. So we have actually created not only the coaxial driver, but 2 woofer designs and an entirely new mechanical design for the enclosure. And we did find out that we had to invent some new solutions for acoustical challenges in these smaller size cabinets. So we have actually gone through a great deal of research work in order to get here where we are today.
Fantastic. Well, people seem very impressed. So thank you very much, Aki. We'll come back to you in a little while for our live Q&A that we're going to be doing, where Thomas and Aki will answer your questions. So please keep sending them in. In the meantime, if you'd like to find out more about the ones while we're speaking, please go to genelec.com/theones, where you'll find out all of the information you need. And if you're tweeting about this, please use #theones. Thank you very much. I'm now going to introduce some very important people. It's our panel of engineers and producers. We have some famous faces here for those in the know. We have songwriter, producer extraordinaire, the man who's kind of defined contemporary music in recent years, Pete Boxter Martin. It's good to see you. We have our APG Awards, Breakthrough Engineer of the Year and collaborator, I should say, I suppose, of Fraser T. Smith, renowned songwriter, Manon Grangin. I hope I pronounced that right. I've been trying all day. And we have Grammy Award-winning engineer Paul Norris, who actually works in this studio every day in this studio. So, guys, you've all spent the last few days using the ones. Come together a little bit closer so we can get you all in. You've used them the last few days spent... There you go. Using the ones. Tell us, what do you think?
I can start if you want.
Okay.
Well, I was really, really lucky to be the first guy to get them in the world, so I find myself very privileged at the moment. And I mean, I got the first ones, which was the 8351s, and they were just so so seminal to me. They blew me out of my seat, you know. I remember Andy Bensley actually said to me, Pete, come down and hear them, you know, and just see what you experience. And I remember the first thing I played for them was Michael Jackson track, Off the Wall. He had a couple of CDs. And I remember just being blown away by the experience because I was hearing new things in a record that I'd heard 100,000 times, you know. And I think that just in itself is what the guys are talking about. You know, it's no longer just a normal loudspeaker. It's something that's going to just make you hear things that you don't actually hear. Like in the record, I was more aware of spatial awareness in the record. I was hearing reverb tails. I was just so more aware of the musical content in it. And it's just a great testament to what the speaker is, really.
Great.
You know?
Thank you very much, Pete. That's marvellous. Manon, can I ask you your thoughts? How have you found it, using it over the last few days?
Actually, I went into Pete's studio to try them out. And yeah, I just spent like a bit of time just listening to like some track stuff recorded and mixed, and yeah, I was pretty impressed. Like very, like you had the 3 sets, so the 51, 41s, and 31s, and very coherent, like all over the range, and like top end, very crisp and like very precise as it is, you know, in Genelecs, and like the range of the speakers as well, like on the 31s, on such small speakers, that the range is actually quite incredible. So yeah, I really enjoyed like switching between the 3 and just comparing, and I couldn't really try for the ear fatigue part of it because you know, you requires a bit longer time to experiment, but yeah, I was quite pleased with it.
Marvellous.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you very much. Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. Paul, we've spoken before about you using the 8350 ones. How have you found the other ones?
I just found it's the way you can transfer between each pair and just find that you trust every one of them. And the 30 ones for me blew me away. Just the bottom end from something that size, it felt like something was it seemed a bit magic that you could get something that size. And I thought the usefulness of being able to have 3 different size speakers, because obviously the bigger ones are going to give you more volume, but being able to have 3 speakers, so everything you do, you know it's going to translate. You know, from the smallest to the biggest ones, what you're hearing is trustworthy. And I think that's always been my thing with Genelecs, because I started on them at university, and I've always used them here at Metropolis, and I've always just been able to trust them. But they sound good as well. Yeah. Do you know? So if you've got an artist in the room, you can put them on, and they don't go, "What is that?" Because it's like if you put a certain Japanese monitor on. If you did that, there's certain reasons you might want to do that. But if an artist's listening to it, quite often they're going to go, "What is this?" But if you put the Genelecs on, and I know what I'm hearing, I can trust. And I know that they're also enjoying the experience, and there's a vibe to it.
And you can, like volume as well. You get quite a lot of volume out of all 3. Like you can crank them up quite a lot.
I was going to ask Pete. I was going to ask you. I'm shouting to get the microphone. Thank you. I was going to ask this of you, Pete. You mentioned playing Off the Wall on the 51s the first time that you heard those. I know from speaking to you before that you like to crank a monitor up to really test it. I know you enjoy that. Have you tried that with the smaller speaker? And how's it coped?
Well, I'm in a really good position in my room because basically I've got the 2 set up in front of me. And this week I had kind of the big ones and the 30s set up. And then I had the 40s off to the side because I've got various sections in my room that I program at or and I mix at. And actually what blew me away, first of all, was that you can move your head, just like the guys were saying. And it doesn't change your perspective on the mix. You know, you can lower them as well and find that everything is present. The upper mid-range, everything is just right there, especially the bass. So I was switching between the 2 and I was actually mixing at a low volume. And for a second, I thought, what speaker is actually playing? Because I didn't realize that the small ones were on, and you could actually hear the full range of the bass, especially when you're doing like a hip-hop mix or something like that. So it's pushing the sound forward more than any other little speaker that I've heard of in my life. I mean, it is really properly an amazing experience.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think I can ask for a better ending than that. So thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. Absolute pleasure. Thank you. If you've just joined us, we are broadcasting live from Metropolis Studios in London. We are here live at the launch of The Ones, a brand new range of three-way coaxial monitors from Genelec. And we are now ready to take your questions. If you still want to find more information, you can do so at genelec.com/theones. But in the meantime, we've got some questions to answer. So, Aki, Thomas, let's get grilling you and see what people have been asking. So, first question from Adam Haskin. What amplifiers are they using, Aki?
Yeah, this is something where I take great pride in replying that we have designed all electronics, everything from the power supply, Class D amplifiers, signal processing, everything has been designed in-house, but not only designed in-house, we also manufacture everything in-house in Iisalmi. So it's all done in one building. So we have a good grip on quality of these products.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We have a question here from Carrie Olmanen. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced that. I'm certainly trying. What is the benefit of for stereo image by using a coaxial monitor? Would you like to take that, Thomas?
Yeah. The main thing is that you get an incredibly stable image because, as I said, the small head movements, it really promotes that, and we are normally using head movements unconsciously. You're doing it, I'm doing it right now, we're doing it all the time, but we are not realizing how much it really supports what we are hearing. But when you can do that, and when it's completely coherent, no matter what you're doing with your head, then that's a stabilizing factor. So the stereo image is extremely stable, and you can move quite a bit off axis, and it remains stable. That's an incredible experience.
Well, we have an additional question from Carrie, which is, can the listening position be wider than using a traditional setup? Which I'll hand over to you, Aki.
So basically, in terms of the sound color, this product will give you very faithful representation of the sound color, both at the ideal position and then if you move off axis, that presentation remains good. If you want to experience the virtual sound images precisely where they should be, then like for any other stereo pair, you would have to be at the ideal position between the speakers. But you do get, as Thomas was saying, you do get a good rendition of the stereo image of the stereo stage, even if you're moving off axis. So this kind of product gives you a good idea of the stereo, even if you're moving in studio, like you would be normally. You're doing different things and adjusting things. So this is a good product for that kind of work.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. From Juho, and I'm not going to pronounce the surname, I apologize. Sorry, Juho. Probably. I'm English, what can I tell you? Color options. What are the color options for the Ones?
Yes, the color options, one color can be seen here. We call this the gray color. Then we also have the black color and the white color.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a question here from Jesper Pedersen. What's the lowest frequency is what it says here. So I'm assuming we want to talk a little bit about the frequency range. Can I hand it over to Thomas?
Yeah, and it might be a Dane or a Swede, so it's probably okay. Yeah, it scales, of course, with the speaker. So the 51 goes lower than the 41, that goes lower than the 31. So that's how it is. But I think you know the numbers more precise than me, Aki. But in most cases, I can just say that from an listening perspective, these are quite overwhelming in their low frequency response. So you often don't really need a subwoofer unless you need to play very loudly. You can actually get away. These looks like a small loudspeaker, but they are massively impressive even at low frequency. So, but give us the precise numbers, Aki.
Yes, even in anechoic room, the smallest one goes to 35 hertz. 45 hertz, and then the 8341 goes to about 40 hertz, and then 8351 to about 35 hertz in anechoic conditions. In real rooms, when you have usually you place this close to one boundary, then this means that the boundary is going to boost the low frequency output. And when you then use the internal compensations to create a flat frequency response out of the product, this usually means that the output extends to a slightly lower frequency. So you can expect this to give you quite dramatical performance at low frequencies, even in real rooms.
I think what you've both described there, the potential of being able to use a system like this and actually not even need a subwoofer, I think that's astonishing. The benefits to users for that is quite remarkable.
And in reality, in music production, you typically, if you want to be really precise, you often need 2 subwoofers, because you want actually not the stereo image to collapse even at very low frequency, and you want the capability to give a spatial sensation, where low frequency plays a big role. So having like sort of 2 subwoofers built into these small speakers, that's really quite amazing.
Thank you very much. Well, we have our last question here from Roland Schaefer. Is the DSP FIR based?
These are very interesting products, because we have gone into a lot of trouble to make these have absolutely constant delay from the electronic input to acoustical output. So from the highest frequency down to relatively low frequencies around 400, 300 hertz, the input to output latency remains absolutely constant. And then, like any other loudspeaker, then towards very low frequencies, there's an increase in input to output delay. But yes,
which means linear phase.
Yeah, it means linear phase. So when the linear phase means that you have when it's really nicely implemented, the delay from the input to output remains constant for all frequencies. Yeah. And this is what you have here.
Thank you very much. Oh, one more point. Okay.
Yes, an additional point is that basically, what does it mean if you have linear phase? If you have this kind of performance in the product, it means that when you're putting in a waveform through the electronic input, it translates into exactly the same kind of waveform as sound at the output.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Aki. So anybody from the industry, the pro audio industry, who knows these 2 people, seeing them speak like this together is quite something. Believe me, it's a bit of a treat. So that's our broadcast for tonight. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Please remember to go and visit genelec.com/theones to find out more, and use #theones if you're tweeting or Facebooking about us. Thank you for joining us. We're very glad to have seen you here, and please go and listen to The Ones. You don't really know what these speakers are about until you experience them. Thank you very much. Good night.